Hey guys, what's up? September 9th, 2018. Should check my volume here as usual because I think what else is new? Anybody knows how to fix this? Let me know. I'm I'm an IT guy. I just don't I loved it when computers were much simpler. But for some reason, look at that. There we go. How's about that? I don't even have a freaking apply button, for crying out loud. Am I up there now? Can you hear me now? Awesome. I was watching it as I started speaking. I'm like, okay, no, that's too low. This stupid, I don't know what you want to call it, just keeps on adjusting itself on its own. I have auto adjust off. I've already done that. But it's, I haven't done, what, I've been doing about once a week now. I've been doing, I think Labor Day was the last one. Let me see the damn thing here. Just take a look at this before I begin. Properties, configure speech, show disabled, yeah, whatever. No jack. Use the device, yes. Levels, 100. See, the apply button never works. Usually when you change something, you hit apply. Then it applies. That apply button never actually works. Allow applications to take exclusive control of this device. I don't know exactly what that means, or if that's give exclusive mode app. I have no idea. I gotta look into that. That could be the issue right there. I have no idea, and I don't even know what the hell is doing it, to be quite honest. I don't use my microphone for anything else. So, I mean, what the hell is taking control of my damn microphone? If you guys know, let me know. I really don't feel like Googling it, to be quite honest. I got enough lack of enthusiasm going on these days. So, yeah, I had a good weekend. Well, yeah, it was a good weekend. Unfortunately, yeah, it's kind of weird. I jokingly, I wasn't going to do this at first. The day was going, the night has been going by good, which is a good thing. I titled the video, by the way, Pastime, and about my ever-changing, and I post this in the description. And it's kind of interesting because I think this is the struggle that I face these days. So an activity that someone does regularly for enjoyment rather than work, a hobby. So something I do regularly, which I used to do something regularly, and we all know what the hell that was, rather than work, which would probably be programming because I still have a job. A hobby, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. His favorite hobbies were shooting and golf. Okay. Hobby, leisure, activity, pursuit, sport, game, recreation, amusement, diversion. Sideline. Okay. Whatever. Fair enough. So, yeah. So that pretty much describes my ever-changing pastimes, because things have been changing. I'm trying to get my son more into... It's kind of weird because his seems to be changing, but I guess that has to do with getting older, or I have no idea, or finding himself. And here I am, past my mid-40s now, and I'm still finding myself, or rediscovering myself, or whatever the hell that is. So yeah, I guess it's kind of still in that whole where I was or where I'm going and where I want to be type thing, I suppose. So what had happened, just going to the whole pastime thing, about 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, or was it last weekend that I received it? I'm trying to remember now. I think I received it last weekend for some reason. I can't remember. That's how much I remember. I don't know if I've had this thing for 2 weeks or 1 week, to be quite honest. Let's just say I've had it for a couple weeks or whatever. I think I've had it for about a week and a half because I believe I got it on a Thursday. So not this past Thursday, but the Thursday prior, I believe I got a software-defined radio. And the whole idea of it was that it was a very cheap way of me getting into scanning my own ATCS frequencies. And as I reported on one of my other videos, I mean, you know, I had a written warning and all this other stuff. So I thought, okay, I looked at the weekend. I mean, we had a really cool weekend here. We finally felt like a fall day. I mean, I know it's not fall yet, but like a whole weekend felt like fall. And I was like, I like to go rafting. And I was ready to go, and I was fine doing it because I know, at least I thought, my son would be up for it because it was going to be cool enough, and he didn't really feel like going. And I'm like, really? I said, since when? I said, why didn't you tell me this a week ago? Like, what's going on? And he wasn't interested in, he didn't want to go rafting. I'm like, oh. I mean, I was using, I suppose, excuses that I didn't want to go because the humidity was too high, but he wasn't really, he was kind of like in the same way. He didn't want to be too hot or whatever. But now, you know, here we had temperatures. Now, mind you, it was probably going to be too cool for him anyways, to be quite honest. It probably would have been fairly uncomfortable because we had northeast winds. We got the remnants of a tropical storm actually coming on us later tonight up to the Great Lakes here. But we were getting, you know, 30-kilometer northeast winds, and we actually got into wind chill, which is, you know, I mean, we just got through humidex values, and now all of a sudden we're getting into wind chill. I'm like, okay, whatever. We had heat warnings not too long ago. Now all of a sudden it's just like it got into the low teens last night. I was like, what the hell? Welcome to fall, I guess, but no, so he didn't want to go, and he said because he likes going everywhere. I says, why didn't you tell me this earlier? I says, we could have planned something. But one thing we did plan, and he was all cool with, was that we'd take the software-defined radio. We were going to head over to Burlington West, which is on the western end of Lake Ontario, where all the, the major train lines converge heading towards Toronto. I mean, mind you, there's not much train lines coming out of Niagara, but, you know, there's stuff there, but it's basically it's not the Transcon by any means, but it's basically the southern stretch of the anything that goes south of Toronto or heads up into the States, be it through western New York or eastern Michigan, including all of southwestern, southeastern Ontario, below Toronto, is either going to head this way or head back to Toronto. So evenings tend to get a little busy. So I was like, okay, and I was heading up, and I noticed I was watching the ATCS monitor on the server. So this is not through my antenna. This is actually looking at the server, and we were losing some various locations. In fact, I think I still have it. Oh, I shut it down. I'll go here. I'll just show you real quickly. Apparently I was looking through some of the rules on this. Supposedly I'm not supposed to show this. You're not allowed to do it live or stream it or whatever. But I'll show it to you real quick, because I'm only going to show it to you for a quick second. But that's just, you know, the terms of it. People get worried or whatever. I don't know what that means. But yeah, and all Brantford's back. Well, that's good. But this area is gone. This whole area in here is white, which is not getting indications because they've gone from ATCS, they've gone back, not to code line, but they've gone to fiber optics. So, la-di-da-di-da. I showed that real quickly. I think that's okay. And there's nobody that I know of that's really cares about, like, I'm not, the purpose of my channels isn't to live stream ATCS. I just wanted to show that real quickly. So I think that's accepted as far as I know. If it's not, somebody can give me a warning. I actually got somebody gave me a warning because I was doing one day, and I tried to do it with a live stream, or I actually not copied, but I actually was streaming a free stream of a webcam, and I didn't think anything of it, but I was told to stop, and I did. I deleted the video later, which was fine. Apparently, signal maintainers, I didn't realize this, but signal maintainers actually use the ATCS monitor program. I'm like, I never read that before. I didn't know that. Most people I've seen who work for the railroad, whoever see it, and they see it, they're kind of blown back by this. It's like, wow, that's cool. So yeah, I was all excited about going up. Not so much because there's either two ways you can monitor the ATCS. Of course, you go to the Yahoo group, you become a member. It's a Yahoo group, which really sucks, but I think there's an IO thing or whatever the hell they call that thing now. But anyways, you become a member, you go on, you then have access to download the ATCS monitor software, and then if you do have ATCS in your area, which you may or may not, depending upon the railroads, like CSX, for example. Good luck these days. There are still some places that have it, but they are slowly being phased out. NS, I don't know what's going on with NS. As far as I know, NS is pretty good. A lot of this has to do with some of it has to do with the changes that were made with the positive train control, because CSX, I think, is going to, well, I shouldn't say it. CSX is going to satellite, or they have for a long time. And suddenly, all of a sudden, I was shocked to hear this, because they're putting ATCS down in Niagara. And this was actually that got me into it, because I started seeing the ATCS come up in Niagara, and I thought to myself, well, okay, now I could be in Niagara and kind of know what the hell's going on. And, or I could be watching, if somebody puts a server up or something like that, I could be close by. If I go to Burlington, it takes me 30 minutes. Now it's going to take me even longer. Now I can actually see what's going on in St. Catharines on that server. I won't show it again, but it will show me what's going on in St. Catharines. But there's really nothing. There's not really too much. I shouldn't say that. There's not much that is surprising when it comes to St. Catharines. I saw a train today, actually, that did surprise me. It was at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'm like, what the hell train? I didn't even know what train number it was. It appeared to be 422. I'm not sure. It certainly didn't look like 331. And those are the ones that I know of. There's another one, I'm not sure the number. There used to be a 332. I think it turned to a 532, but it wasn't that. This was a mixed train. It had auto racks on the front end, but then it had more. So it looked like your typical 422. But that used to be a morning train. And I don't know if it had something to do with the weekend, but I've been seeing an afternoon train starting to creep up lately. So it's not as cut and dry as it used to be. But where it really gets interesting is when you get down into the Welland area. And this is what makes things interesting for me, especially on a Sunday afternoon. Now, I don't know when this is going to go into place. I don't even know what I can pick up yet, because there's a whole ball of wax involving reception. Now, I know one place that I can get reception pretty well, and that's in Grimsby. It's not too far away. For some reason, my ATCS does not work well picking up when I'm by the control points at Glenridge and Jordan. I have no idea why that is. I can sit there, I can see the stupid antenna, I can be far away from it, whatever. But I guess apparently I don't have the stock antennas that come with it. I use the shortest one because the shorter the antenna is for more higher frequency ranges. It's like 900 megahertz. And apparently even the shortest antenna I have, which is fairly short for my, I've never seen an antenna so short, is not short enough. You have to get a 900 megahertz antenna, and they're hard to find now because they closed up the band or some stuff like that. I still don't understand what the hell that all means, to be quite honest. But I was advised to do an experiment and solder an alligator clip to a piece of metal or something like that. I'm thinking, wow. I got some clothes hangers too I'm thinking of using too. I was just chopping one up. Actually, I did a makeshift. I mean, honestly, I may do that tomorrow night, because I don't know if I want to be out there tonight so much, but I may do that tomorrow if I feel the need. Put it this way, this is what really gets to me right now, is I have a hard time figuring out what the hell I'm doing on the Mondays and Wednesdays. I've lost my routine. My routine's totally shot. It is just so freaking up in the air, and I hate it. I can't stand it. I can't stand having to get into YouTube and search. And yeah, sometimes it's enjoying, and I come across, for those of you, I'd highly recommend one of the best videos I saw this week. And this shows how freaking out of touch people are, and in my opinion, it shows you how biased the media is. It shows you how you know, and I'm not going to get political or anything, but I'm pretty sure we're totally opposite as far as politics go. And that doesn't mean I can't like the guy or think he's pretty cool or admirable, because there's once upon a time where I believed in the politics that he did, and etc., or believed more in what he did. And that was, I saw a video on the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk. And I'll tell you something. One of the things that really got me first, I didn't know who Elon Musk was until I started seeing SpaceX. And I used to watch all the SpaceX launches. I haven't watched one in a while because they become so routine. Now, mind you, there has been failures, you know, but from what I understand, they're pretty good. But there's so much, you know, there's so much talk about the Tesla and all this, and the subsidies and all this other stuff. Give me a break. There's so many companies, oil companies, banks, car companies, GM, who have been subsidized to avoid or, you know, to get them through bankruptcy or avoid bankruptcy and all this other stuff. And yeah, like, don't you know, people have to get their blinders. I mean, yeah, I may be a bit political on one side, but holy smoke. But anyways, I started watching it. I was watching it with my son, and the whole controversy of this video, apparently, you can tell the guy's under a lot of stress, but you can also tell the guy is super intelligent. Super intelligent, is coming up with ideas all the time. He was coming up with ideas on the podcast. Joe Rogan would throw something at him, and then you could tell his mind's just working. You know, jokingly, like he's an alien or something like that. It's almost, it's kind of creepy in some ways, but the way he thinks and all that energy he has. And I'll get to the energy part, because man, I wish I had whatever the hell energy he's got. But the whole big shenazzle, I guess, that led me to this particular, I see Joe Rogan videos all the time. I don't see all of them, but I often get recommended various clips from Joe Rogan. Sometimes I totally agree with him. Other times I think he's way off. But this was a very entertaining 2 and 3/4 hour video, I think it was, the Joe Rogan Experience this week, and the whole controversy about it that everybody was going nuts on, I think Friday or Thursday or something like that, was because he supposedly smoked pot. Because Joe Rogan always does this. He'll pour whiskey, you know, he'll drink, and then he'll light it because they're in California. Pot's legal. Actually, Canada up here. I mean, it's not a big deal. But I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke cigarettes. I think I've let me see. I've had a drag of 1 cigarette in my life, maybe 2 drags. No, I did it twice. I did it once at school. Somebody tried offered me a drag once, and I think my mom actually gave me a cigarette once because she knew I wasn't going to like it, and she was right. I don't know what it was, but because she made it sound it wasn't so cool, yeah, and that kind of stuck with me. I'm just like, yeah. And I think New Year's Eve once I smoked. The one time I smoked something, I literally smoked something that actually almost knocked the hell out of me and brought me loopy. Was I actually smoked Scotch tape? I did it as a gag. I don't know how the hell I got to light the damn thing. To be quite honest, I can't even remember how the hell I got my hands on a lighter or something. But yeah, it was crazy because it was like, okay, I was smoking Scotch tape. You know how much chemicals and crap are in that, and I was inhaling it, and oh my god, I was, whew, I was fine. I wasn't, I was still. My parents were upstairs with her, and we were down with the kids. We had our own little, like, we were in the I guess you call it the I guess the kids had the basement and the adults had the upstairs, and yeah, we were downstairs, all right, and we were watching the same stuff, and we were having our own little party down there. But I don't know if I was in my teens at this point. I can't even remember that far back. But man, no, I don't do drugs. I don't touch any of that stuff. But I got no problem with people who want to do whatever the hell they want. If they want to drink, I don't think I've had a beer in 2 years. I did have wine, I think, at Christmas party I went to. We went to a winery, and you just sip different wines. But I don't drink wine normally either. I don't drink. I find I don't need to do that. Maybe I should. I don't know, but that's just another expense that I don't want to bother with. So no. But yeah, the whole controversy was that he was, and the way they spun it, the media spun it too. You get CNN talk. Oh my God, don't get me started about CNN, and they're just trying to bury this guy. And I mean, he's kind of buried himself. He's, to be honest, I mean, he's, I think there's been some issues as far as, Tesla and the cars and all that. But you look at some of the blown out of proportion stories about Teslas blowing up and all these accidents, and yet they're still probably some of the safest vehicles out there. Which is true, but the media will always blow it out of proportion because they'll go to the extreme and they'll sensationalize the negative, and this is what getting away from the media. But I at the same time, I try to get away from YouTube as well because I have a tendency of I was getting too much into YouTube, and I was just like, man, I was spending more and more. The more I got away from Run 8 and a few other things that I was doing on a regular basis, the more I got sucked into this hole. So this is why I kind of went into the whole real world thing, where I wanted to do things both, with my, my kid wanted to watch a little bit of YouTube recently. I was like, no, we're not watching YouTube. I mean, most of it is just watching video games or other people. I says, no, why don't we just play video games? If we're going to do something, fine, play video games. But anyways, I'm just rambling on about this stuff. But anyways, so what had happened was, going back to the whole ATCS thing. I don't know how the hell I got onto Elon Musk, but anyways, that was, what I was doing tonight. Finishing that off. The ATCS thing really got me interested because of what was happening in Niagara, especially in southern Niagara, because once you get to southern Niagara, and the ATCS is not even online down here yet, once you get into southern Niagara, then CP joins CN. So it gets a lot more unpredictable as to what kind of traffic. And the way things are going now is on Sundays, especially Sundays. This was the first time I dropped my son off at 3 o'clock. It used to be 1, but now it's 3. And right away, I mean, I'm you know, it's either I'm going to be doing something with whatever pastime I'm doing, or yeah, whatever it takes to get through the day and try to enjoy it, and you know, not worry about work or any stress that's going on there, which really I haven't really thought about work tonight, to be quite honest. Thought about my son early on. It was, you know, but it's back to the same old now that he's back in school, and we're back through the long weekend, and that's over, and we got September we got an October long weekend coming up, Canadian Thanksgiving. And that has something to do with ATCS too, but I'll get to that in a bit. So we you know, now it's looking forward, but I like to plan these things. And I told him this. I says, I like to plan these things. And so one of the things that he agreed upon, that he was really interested in, was going back to Burlington. I thought, okay, cool. So he was all for it. He didn't want to leave too early, and I wish we did, because we would have caught more trains, but we didn't see that many trains that night. But we ended up catching an interesting train we didn't expect. And it was a short line train, and we actually caught it in Brantford. And the reason why we went to Brantford was very strange. I got up to Burlington. Now, I was following, like I said, I was following the ATCS feed earlier in the week, and I noticed that everything from Bayview to Burlington went offline, as I was showing in that display. Apparently, they went from ATCS, and they suddenly went to fiber optics. And I was concerned that they were going to do it with Brantford, but Brantford came back online today. It was down at 7:30 this morning, but it is back online now, which is good to see. You know, at least, you know, that kind of gives me hope, because at least from my own view advantage, it's not so much if I'm going to go down to that area, because that's where I'm going to go. If I want to see trains locally, I'm going to take a 30-minute trip and go down there. The only other way I'm going to do it is I'm going to head over to Buffalo, New York. And you know, it's a toss-up between Buffalo and Burlington sometimes, how many more trains I'm going to see. I think Buffalo's kind of more, it's more fun, but then you have to go through customs and make sure you have your passport and all that other stuff. But so I have this ATCS or I have the SDR stuff. I have the ATCS software, you know, lined up to monitor the ATCS traffic. And it's not tuning very well because I don't have the right antenna. I may experiment a little, and I might do it tomorrow night. And I was just thinking about that because I had a window that the handle came off of it, and I was changing things around, and I lost a bolt or something like that. But I needed something that was going to fit in this hole, and I was pretty proud of myself because you know, I was using little flimsy wire, and it was falling apart, and I didn't have any screws or nails or anything to fit in this. And then I found a coat hanger, and it was just thin enough. And so I took the coat hanger, and I have relics of tools. I have very few tools, in fact. But I managed to find an old wire stripper, and sure enough, that snapped it, and I got a nice piece the way I wanted it. Got it in there, and now I have a makeshift bolt inside for my handle, so I can open and close the window. So, anyways, how the hell did I get on that? I don't know how I got on that. What does that have to do with it? Oh, yeah, because the reason why I mentioned about the hanger is I may be able to use the coat hanger as a makeshift antenna as well. I'm not too sure how that's going to work exactly. You know, I by rights, I suppose I should solder something. I don't know. yeah, it's very complicated, to say the least. So I don't know how the hell I'm gonna do it, to be honest. I'm gonna try a few different experiments, at least at Glenridge, or maybe go out to St. Catharines and see if I can try to do a few different configurations. Maybe stop by a hardware store and pick up some alligator clips, and then maybe somehow that way I'll be able to get something that'll give me the right length. If it works, I don't know if it's going to work or not, to be quite honest. If it can give me Glenridge, or if it can get me anything that's local, then I've won. The only problem is it ain't going to give me anything at Burlington, but at least that gets me started, and I can get back into the whole once ATCS is down further south and they all go online all the way up to Fort Erie. That gives me the opportunity to drive along and basically see what things are doing, because you can't always see the signals. I mean, you can in most places, but there's some places like Fort Erie that's very difficult to see what the signals are. You don't want to be messing around with the border. You don't want to be on property, as I found out not too long ago being up in Burlington West. But anyways, so what I did this weekend was my son and I went out. I wanted to go to Burlington West to see if I didn't know what was going on, and I hadn't heard any updates. So I went up to. I didn't go up to the place where I was supposedly. Well, I guess not supposedly, actually trespassing. It's not on the tracks, but it's in the area where you're not supposed to be, apparently. Even though commercial trucks actually go in there. So I guess they have the rights to use the CM property, but people who just sitting there minding their own business does not. But anyways, that being said, I decided to go across into a residential neighborhood that was right across the street. And I thought that would be okay, except there's a lot of people coming in and out of it was like a townhouse area, and here I am with my son, and I got my laptop, and I'm playing around, and I'm thinking to myself, what are these people thinking as they're seeing me? It didn't feel secluded. At least, when you're rail fanning, people aren't around, walking around, and you're playing around with a computer and a laptop. It's bad enough police are around, if they're around and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking for trouble. So I thought to myself, okay, well, this ain't working anyways, because I wasn't picking up a damn thing. So I kind of came to the conclusion that something was definitely wrong with either my setup or Burlington, but I was thinking of the latter for sure, even though my setup's not perfect. And I said, well, we can drive towards Bayview and see if we pick up anything. We should. And last time we were picking up stuff, at least when we were on Plains Road. So we went down Plains Road through Burlington. We headed towards Bayview. I wasn't picking up a damn thing. And I said, the only thing that could be happening, I said, because we had a lightning storm, if they knocked out the BCP tower, then something, they went to a backup system or something. But I didn't know if that was the case or not. I never, I always wondered. I think they would just fix it, personally, because it's just, one thing they can get fixed, go up to a tower and, fix it, I guess. Wouldn't be much to fix. It's not like fixing the entire system, but yeah, I can knock down a whole area pretty easily. But anyways, it turned out that, yeah, apparently they're doing the fiber optics thing. But we headed at that point. We didn't know what was going on. I went over to Copetown, which is another place that never shows up on the server, and I thought maybe it's because it's secluded, or it's surrounded by woods and all that other stuff. So it's difficult to get a good reading even from height from wherever they're at. But I heard Brantford was difficult but not impossible, that you should be able to go to Brantford Station and pick up a few things. So I went to Brantford, and I wasn't getting much. I was getting some of the hotbox detectors popping up, which you can apparently code or see or get data from. And then finally I did get a Brantford that started popping up. It only would come in every now and then, even though I was sitting right at the station, and the control point's right there. But I drove around a little bit to try to actually read the signals like I normally would. I would see the eastbound signal at the station, but you don't get the westbound signal, so I'd have to go drive about a kilometer or so to the west to pick up the westbound signal, because I couldn't get to the other side of the control point because it's not visible without trespassing, and I didn't want to do that, obviously. So, and that's the problem with and this is the advantage of ATCS, because then you don't need to worry about driving a kilometer away just to figure out a signal or figure out what the hell's going on. The only other way of doing it is having the ability to use Wi-Fi. Some passenger stations have them. I guess Brantford does not, or at least I wasn't picking it up, so that would have been pretty cool if I could pick up Wi-Fi, because then I could just go on the server and not have to worry about it. But that's not always the case. And so no, it wasn't working. And I thought, well, I don't know now what the best. But it would come in eventually, and then I saw a what they call a train that came from Nanticoke. It was actually a short line railroad that had rights that go through the area, and I was surprised to see it. I was just like, oh wow, this is neat. It was cool. It was cool to see. So that was kind of worth going to Brantford. We saw a couple passenger trains as well, and an intermodal train went through. 149, I think, went through. So it was pretty cool. So it turned out to be an okay weekend. It was a kind of a downer to hear about the ATCS thing, and we ended the day today. After we woke up, and I watched with my son the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, yeah, but I just explained to him, because he's 10 years old, and I don't want to make but I can tell him by example, like I wouldn't do drugs, but I don't think it's a bad thing either. I don't think you need to do them, but. I says, personally, I don't need them. I says, but at the same time, I don't think it's a bad thing that you're seeing something like that, because everybody gets all sensitive because, oh, your kids are thinking, they get the wrong impression and all this other stuff, or they hear swearing. And I mean, my son at 10 is starting to swear, but that's probably my fault, not because of what I'm showing him, but because of my own language at times, to be quite honest. So I caught him with it one time, saying the S word, and I kind of said, I've said a lot worse in front of him, and I said, Emmett, you shouldn't be saying that. I said, don't get into a habit. So in retrospect, it really isn't a big deal. It's just what other people think, and I hate that. But unfortunately, his success is going to rely on what other people think. So he can't get into the habit of being that person. You gotta be proper, and we're still in a politically correct world, which really sucks, because I hate being politically correct. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you gotta play the game to get ahead, type thing. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. We watched a little bit of that, and he was getting bored of that. So I was like, okay, because he was into, like, Elon Musk was talking about magnets and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. And my son has a lot of ideas about magnets and stuff like that, and I was just like, wow. I said, I actually woke him up and got him out of bed to watch the Elon Musk talk on the Joe Rogan podcast, but it was pretty cool. But he also wanted to do something else this weekend that kind of surprised me, and we spent the few hours we had today on, and that was Subsistence. We hadn't played Subsistence in probably, I would say, close to maybe 2 to 3 months. Been early on in the summer. It had been a while. But we decided to start a new world, and we built our base out on the middle of the water. Made our own little island for something different, and yeah, that was kind of cool. I was actually starting to get bored of it, though, to be honest, and I told him that. And he says, yeah, I can understand that. He says he wasn't, though. He hadn't played it in so long, and we haven't really played Miss Survival. That's another one. That's only single player for me. He'd have to watch, but I said, well, I says, yeah, we'll have more time in the winter. I says, but we gotta plan out the weekends ahead of time. We gotta know what we're doing ahead of time. I mean, check the weather, see how things are gonna go, and then kind of decide what we want to do from there. It's bad enough, and that's the thing. It's bad enough I can't plan my week right now. But Tuesdays and Thursdays don't bother me too much. I mean, he's got karate both of those nights. And then the other times, it's just like, okay, I don't know, what's going to happen. But, so yeah, it's crazy. But I started with the whole pastimes because a lot of this is a talk about pastimes. And, it's 8:53 at night. And this has been a very strange time for me. Because today reminded me a lot of fall. It reminded me that we're getting closer. I didn't feel this on Labor Day, but I'm starting to feel it now, that despite the fact I have a lot of plans for September, I even have railfan trips for October, which may or may not work with ATCS. Hopefully I'll get an antenna rigged up by then, so that at least I have a reliable one, and then we'll see what the signals are like in some of the NS locations, such as Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh line up by Altoona, I think, has it. I'm going to try and do a lot of. I got lots of time for that, anyways. That's not till November. But the October trip, I know where I'm going there, and I know it has ATCS on the way to and from, and that's, I mentioned this the other day, I think, was that I'm going to be taking my time on that long weekend for the ballast sub. But we are planning to take the boat out, and he's looking forward to that. He told me the reason why he didn't want to take the boat out was because we're always going in the same place. And I said the other day, I says, well, we hadn't gotten to the well and recreational canal. And I says, I wanted to do that the one time you chose Lake Ontario. I says, we could have gone down there. But he was leaning towards that he didn't really want to do it. So I don't know if he's getting... sometimes I think he holds things back where he may or may not be interested in something, and, I guess he can get bored pretty easily. I mean, he's had fun on these. I mean, the last time we were out on Lake Ontario a couple weeks ago, he seemed to love it, as did I. It takes a little bit of setting up. You have to pump the boat up. You gotta, drag it out of the bedroom down here in the basement, and because that's where I store it. I store it in my bedroom, and then and bring it all the way back up the stairs and stow it into my Fiat, which is fun, but it fits. It's an inflatable, and yeah, that's basically how I do it. So, but no, it's been a little bit tough. Actually, the reason why I thought about doing this live stream actually was because I realized we were emailing back and forth, Scott and I. Actually, there's a couple. I'm not too sure of Ski, because I know Ski was in Alaska, but I forget when he said he's coming back. I gotta double check my emails. But he's renting a server, and I have not used the farm simulator. But I also realized that I haven't used Farm Simulator because it started just becoming tedious. It's not so bad when you got a lot of people doing it at the same time, but when you don't, and it's just you or you and somebody else, and then suddenly it's just like, okay, this is actually a little tedious and boring, because some of these farms take a lot of work, especially the bigger map that Ski's got his world. So I kind of want to venture back to the smaller maps. I told my son that. I said, because he's got it too. We both have it for multiplayer. I said, I think you and I need to go back to the smaller maps, you and I, and just try that and see it. And Scott, he grew tired of it pretty quick too. and it was just like, yeah. I actually saw, just to get back over to the Run 8 side of things, or not the Run 8, the train side of things, I should say. I keep saying Run 8 because I'm so used to saying that. I don't know what he's doing. Oh yeah, Run. Let's talk about some of the Run 8 news that did come out this week. Scott had let me know too on that one. There was a Waycross update. At first I didn't know what it was about. It wouldn't have made a difference what was on this update, to be quite honest. And that's, with all due respect to the guys at High Rails. But it really didn't matter to me. The only thing that would have made any kind of curiosity or interest, I would say, is if we had the ability to go in there and pull cars out of the hump that had been mishumped. Because in a big yard like that, having to go through the whole thing and pull out the whole damn thing is just ridiculous. But that was coming in, but apparently it's not in yet. But Waycross has some scenery updates and a few other things, and I don't know, some signal changes. I forget what all the other changes are, but it really doesn't matter. For me, it goes right back to the Run 8 software right now, that it's run its course for me still. I still believe that. I did have the thought that did come across my mind a little bit, and that was, and this was actually, ironically, full circle, this comes to the whole, and I was thinking of this while I was watching Elon Musk this morning. And he's talking about his fears about AI, and that and other things like, well, the people need to be more communicative, be able to communicate with each other, and that AI is not such a bad thing, but or it's going to happen, or it may not be as bad as he thinks it is, and that we're really merging, like technology's merging with humans anyways, and it's inevitable, or something like that. But I started thinking about, when I started thinking about the AI, I started realizing how important AI is to me for my development. Well, not only my development, but what I want to see happen in Run 8. And it's kind of weird, because I was looking for the same thing from version 1 to version 2. Now I'm looking for the same thing even to improve further in version 2 to version 3. I don't even think that that's their goal, but I don't know. I haven't heard talk about it. I would be just curious to see a smaller route, something I can get myself into and just enjoy it, and just be willing to do it once in a while, I guess, and not grow tired of it, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but and I sometimes I wonder too if it has anything to do with Run 8, or if it's just me getting tired of trains. And that's some of the fears that are still inside of me right now, is a lot of as far as development goes, from my perspective, if and when I'll ever, we're getting closer to fall, and technically this was the time that I really wanted to start pushing towards development for my own software, and I really haven't touched it. But yet, over the weekend, we saw a 2D game, and it was some bouncer simulator or something. It was so simple and yet so funny, and kind of hilarious, and it looked fun, and the voices were going. It was so goofy, but yet I could see, and I mean, people were featuring it on their YouTube channel, and this is how we got light of it. Now, personally, I wouldn't buy it, but it looked kind of cute anyways. And I thought of something like that. I thought, yeah, it looks kind of fun. And I thought, well, here's something that's 2D, and I told Emmett that. I said, well, there's something that's 2D right there. And yet all I have to do is create either a TD dispatcher, or not a TD dispatcher, sorry, not like a TD3 dispatcher, but an RTS dispatcher or an RTS yardmaster. And the dispatcher side, is it really that necessary? Probably not. I'm starting to push towards the yard side now, suddenly. I don't know. I don't know why that is. I mean, I probably can make, in theory, more money on the dispatching side just because of the ability to do what, here's like Train Dispatcher 3 right here, the ability to do what unfortunately TD3s no longer can do and improve it. I thought, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But I'm still not too sure how I want to do the editors for this, but yet I can go in and just say, okay, why don't I just create a 2D world of my own? Don't worry about the user editable content and just put it out there and program whatever AI I want to. Because what got me on that thought process today and got me, the creative juices flowing again for me, was very simple. My son was like, he might want to try to take a look at Freight Yard Manager. And I said, you might like it. I said, but you'd be better off with sticking with, do I have it here? I don't know if I do have it. I probably don't have it on this computer, but it's Train Player 6.2 or 6.3, which is kind of like a 2D model railroad simulator. Personally, I don't run it. It's okay. I mean, it's fine and all, but it's just like running a model railroad by yourself. And yeah, I really haven't looked too much into it, to be quite honest. I know my son's has been into it a little bit. He's had some fun with it. He seems to be more interested in that ever than he really was with Run 8, because he can get his hands on it. He can be a little bit more creative, and it's more, I don't know, digestible. I don't know what the word is. But yeah, he was like, and we started talking about Freight Yard Manager, and I said Freight Yard Manager is great. I says, I've been on the record of saying it's the best actual railroad simulator on the planet. And there's a distinction between the best railroad simulator and the best train simulator. That title for me belongs to Run 8. Those are the two titles I give. There's a best train simulator, which right there is Run 8. And Freight Yard Manager I don't even have on this system, but that is by far the, as far as I'm concerned, the best railroad simulator, because it really involves an entire railroad. Actually, it involves an entire network of not just one railroad, but multiple railroads. And no, it doesn't have every piece of mainline. It deals more with 2D maps on Google Images, and you have working hump yards, you've got working industry or industrial zones, intermodal yards, coal plants or power plants, coal mines, grain elevators. I don't know what else. I mean, you name it, it's got it. And it deals with the logistics of where those, I mean, the logistics model is very simple. It's very open-ended. So I see a lot of improvements there. But I told him, I said, the problem, Emmett, I says, unless you're willing to have the time, and I says, I don't know, I says, I forget how much, I says, one, it's free, so you can get it. But I forget what you need to have as far as an account or having it set up so that you can just go in and do it. I says, but you have to work your way up to a point where you're basically have the ability to take over a yard for somebody. And if you ever want to get those big yards, you have to really have enough time available to do it. I said, but if you're willing to hang out into some of the smaller boring yards, and even some of them aren't even yards. Some of them are just like industries. If you're willing to do that, it might be for you. I said, that's something that you may be interested in. I said, I can get you, I can look into it for you, or you can look into it yourself and see what you think. By all means, I says, but honestly, I think you would be better off with what you're doing with Train Player, because you have more control over that. Whereas Freight Yard Manager, you're not going to be able to pick and choose what you want unless you're not going to be able to. I said you got to be committed to it, and I'm not too sure, because the way he goes on and off. I suppose I was going to say like a 10-year-old, but then again, I've kind of been like him like lately too, where I'm onto something and then I just like, no, I'm not interested anymore. So yeah, I just like, I told him, I said, I mean, if you're not committed to doing it, or if it's not part of something that you enjoy doing, then you'd be better off sticking with single player until you really find what you really want to do. I think personally, I think he needs to be a little bit older to really know what he wants. He's still finding. Me, I'm just trying to rediscover myself, and I'm trying to find the energy. The energy and the drive. I just don't seem to have it. Like for me, I work my work week. I go on my vacations, and we set our vacations up. I like to plan them. Some of them are very simple. Some of them are stay at home. Some of them are day trips. Weekends, he has his karate sparring on Saturday mornings. Then we try to, plan. I try to plan the rest of the weekend. He doesn't always do it, but I certainly try to. Weeknights, Tuesdays, Thursdays are basically focused for him. And everything starts again on Friday for the weekends for us. But for me, I mean, right now it's Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays are my available time, and that's where I'm trying to find the focus, because it's not there yet. It's just I don't have the drive, the energy, the discipline. I also, quite frankly, I believe I fear. I fear. I don't know what it is. Maybe I fear. I don't think I fear succeeding. I don't think it's that. I think I fear. I don't even know if I fear failure. I mean, I've failed before. That's not a big deal either. I think I fear the biggest fear I have is wasting my time. Because pastimes are supposed to be fun, and programming for me is not a hobby. So the less coding that I have to do to get something up and going and make it work, the better. And if I can get away with the no coding and just be creative. See, being creative and coding are two different things as far as I'm concerned. Being creative is being able to play around with an editor and play with maps and build a world and then get to play. If you want to stop building it, then you get to play it. That kind of, that almost got me into Trains 19. And I was close to doing that, and then I just, then I started looking, I started thinking about price tags and all that, and I just said, you've already bought enough software lately, then some of it you're not even using. I said, forget it. I said, don't bother. It's not worth it right now. I've also thought about Run 8. I've thought about, just gathering with people, trying to come up with something that is kind of like a private model railroad club. I don't know how the hell we're going to do it, or what the best way of doing it is. I think I've tried to keep things open for so long that I don't know, but as long as I can get a routine open, and I'm going to talk with Scott about it. I might even talk with Ski about it as well. But he's committed. As far as I know, when he's available, he's committed, and he's got work too. But he's committed on the Tuesday, Thursday nights. But my Mondays and Wednesdays are open, and I know he certainly. I haven't given up Farm Simulator yet. I just don't know if that's something I want to do. I just don't know. I really don't know yet on that, and it's one of those things. Yeah, I enjoy it, and yeah, it was kind of cool, and I got into it was just kind of cool, and then I thought, well, yeah, but then yeah, it's not switching trains. It's not exploring a whole railroad at all. You're in a finite area, and then you're dealing with mods, and you're just playing the system. And yeah, it's cool, and there's weather, and there's all kinds of stuff, but then it just becomes the grind. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to get into the grind so much. Subsistence, there's grinding too, but subsistence is kind of cool because you get a scene somewhat like this background here, where you get to explore around and kind of relax. And I mean, a thunderstorm, we had a couple thunder showers roll through in our world today, and we actually got other hunters enabled, but they're not gonna be too vicious with us. Apparently, the setting we have set up, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I've tried not to be so anal or worry about the whole idea of the concept of hunters. I think I was worried about that too much before, and thinking, oh yeah, this is just not unrealistic. It's too unrealistic with these hunters. And then I kind of justified the mist survival. I justified zombies because there was some type of mist that turned them into zombies, so that seemed more realistic than these hunters just coming out and you just have to stumble on them and they start shooting you. But he's even gone so far. My son, he wanted a setting. There's 3 settings. Normal means they just come around wherever the hell they want and start shooting at your place for some unknown reason. The easiest setting is where they never attack you. However, if you go near them, they will start firing, and they will come after you, or they'll chase you at least. But if you run away and you get away fast enough, they'll stop pursuing you, and they won't come to your base and start shooting. The one in the middle is the one my son chose. I said, "You sure about this?" He said, "Yeah, I think they should. I think they should." What he suggested was, if we stumble upon them, or if we attack them, which we could, to try to get loots, they should have the ability to attack us. I said, okay. So they can do a revenge. They call it a revenge attack. I said, all right, fine. And we're in the middle of the lake, so we can see mostly what's going around. If we're going to be safe, at night we can see all the fires. Like, we just look around. We're kind of halfway in the middle of the lake, so we can see. I think we should have gone further out in the lake, but we didn't. But that's okay. But anyways, I'm still rambling on, and that's about all I got tonight. So I want to try to enjoy the rest of my evening, try to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to get into anything programming-wise at the moment. Just not there yet. I want to. I have the desire. I just don't have the will or the energy. Just not yet, or the confidence. To be quite honest, it's not there yet. So I'd rather play and have fun and have a pastime than to worry about anything else. Yeah, the other big development before I end this all, it's 9:15 Eastern. I almost totally forgot. The other big development, and this could play a factor too. So I'm keeping this in mind, and I'm not using this as an excuse. I've already said that, it's on me right now why things aren't happening. Yes, I'm waiting to see what happens with Run 8. Yes, I'm still trying to decide what others may or may not want to do, etc. But one thing that I have done, and I am very conscious of my financial situation right now. I've been watching it very carefully. It is tight. It's going to be tight as the remainder of the year unfolds. So what had happened, as I did mention about my ex-mother-in-law passing away. It's going to be a month It's hard to believe. It's going to be a month this week coming up, I think, if I understand correctly. So what I decided that I would do, I wasn't going to do it, but then I decided to do it because I heard people were coming down and she was going, to her worker and all this other stuff. I mean, she's on disability. I'll say that much. And so she's, she gets, enough money or whatever. And that's always been an interesting thing, a dynamic with me, because if when we were living together, married or living and then eventually married, it affected it affected the income that I brought in Canada or Ontario or whatever, the province, or however there's certain rules, etc. But what had happened basically was I was allowed to make the money, except everything I brought in, we only got to keep half of it. The other half went towards disability, which I guess is fair. Now we are not reconciling. At least there's no intentions on either of our parts for that to happen. We have been now divorced / separated for 7 years, I think. But now, with her mom gone, and she was living, with her mom upstairs, basically our apartment, or where she lived with my son, has basically become vacant. It's, so now I started thinking a little bit, and I brainstorming as far as what I may or may not be able to do, and I decided I put the proposal out there. I said, look, because she wanted, she needs somebody to shovel the driveway because she can't shovel. She needed some, cut the lawn. My son can do so much, but he's still 10, so that's a lot to expect from a 10-year-old, but he could get used to it, or at least try. But I said, she doesn't even own a lawnmower. My parents used to own them. But anyways, I said, I talked to her this week, and I said I wanted to wait until all this settled down a bit. I said, but because things are starting to change, and that various people are coming down, and she's meeting with her worker and all this other stuff, I thought I better let you know an idea that I had, and that was, you have a vacant apartment, then I'm willing to move into it, under the condition that we keep separate, or at least that's the idea, and that we have our own separate lives. We get to see our son, whatever. We get along great. We get along perfectly fine. There's no any differences we ever had. I mean, those issues were long gone. I'm not dating anybody. She's not dating anybody. Neither of us really have any intentions of dating anybody. It's really weird. But that could be financially beneficial to both of us. At the same time, it could also be detrimental. And I told her that. I said, I got to be sure what others are going to do, especially when you're talking about disability and you're talking about government and slash common law and all that other stuff that may come into play. I said, from a tax perspective, I have to be careful what I'm doing here. I told her my financial situation and what's happening, and my car's gonna get paid off in May, but it's starting to show signs that it's gonna need quite a bit of service in the next little bit. So I'm putting off a little bit, and that all adds into this whole thing, because I think there's a lot more stress on me financially to do something than there is interest-wise to do something. If I was just enjoying programming, or enjoying and not having the stress of trying to produce something that makes money, then maybe it doesn't have to make a lot of money, but just makes be profitable and worth it, then perhaps I would actually already be programming. I don't know. I'm not too sure what it is. But I thought I'd mention that because that's something I'm waiting to see what happens to. And I mean, these are all excuses as to why I'm not doing things. I mean, the bottom line is it's on me. It's just I'm waiting to see for a lot of things to fall in place, and I would feel much more comfortable if before I get involved in something and then see different things happen. So, but I'm always grateful to the help and ideas. If you guys have any, I'm all open. I mean, our forum is practically dead. I do appreciate the subscribers hanging on. I've been trying to keep these videos not too like once a week now, just to keep you guys updated on what's happening, as opposed to posting forum posts that, the forum's kind of dead anyways. Not too much interaction, not too much of anything going on right now in regards to that. Run 8, I haven't heard any news. I don't know what's going on with it. Again, we're still a long ways before the end of the year, so but we're not too long either. So, but I haven't heard any buzz. I haven't heard much of anything. Like I said, Waycross had an update this week. It is what it is, and maybe Run 8 will have an update, sometime this fall. I don't know. I hear they might. Who knows? But it hasn't really changed things for me. So I'm waiting to see. I'll wait and see what Scott's getting into these days. He's he's kind of in the same boat as I am, I think, and I don't know what Ski's doing these days. I know things, as far as I know, things are going okay on the Southwest server, but I'm not 100% sure of that because they're not having as many sessions either, or something, the last I heard. So I don't know what's going on over there. But I'll, like I said, I'm open to ideas, guys. So if you want to do something, my Run 8, I'm not totally, how would you say? I'm not totally not interested in Run 8, that I wouldn't do Run 8. I just need to know the parameters, and I need to know what it is we're trying to accomplish and make it as fun as possible, I guess. I guess that would be the best way of putting it. And then, see how it goes, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. But if it's just me doing it, then I'm not interested. Because for me, just to run in a world by myself and just watch myself progressively move trains around, I mean, it's boring as hell. So, like I said, Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays are my free days. So if you're interested in something, if there's a particular route that you like, if there's something that, and this is where the discussion, and maybe I'll post a message on the forum. I don't think I'm going to get any responses to it, to be quite honest. If you stuck along this long to the video, then yeah, we'll see. But I honestly don't. I appreciate the support with the subscribers and everything, and yeah, you can let me know in the comment section. Positive criticism, is fine too. I can take that, but whatever it is, we'll talk. And I'm still doing some private emails with a few people as well, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's it for now. I gotta get something to drink because my throat is going dry, and yeah, we'll see what else is going on for the rest of the evening before I call it, and then try to figure out what the hell I'm doing tomorrow, because that's going to be the next thing. And if it was like last week and even the week prior, I think I was just falling asleep on the couch Monday and Wednesday nights because I was so friggin' bored. So that's not exactly what I have in mind. So hopefully I can avoid it this week. Anyways, guys, oh yeah, I was going to do an antenna maybe. Well, we'll see. I don't know about that. But anyways, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you again, hopefully not too far away. Have a good one. Take care.